It's just their belief. Why are you saying anything about it? Why does it matter? Freedom of speech. Let people say what they want. Let people have their opinions. And yeah, I do let people say what they want, but when what they say is bullshit and harmful, I have to talk out about it, because otherwise, more situations like this happen. But I do want to say there is something to be said about how much trouble actually gets caused by various online movements. The QAnon movement and a lot of the splinterings of conservatia, as it were, are a huge problem. Why? Is it just, individual people's beliefs, and shouldn't they be allowed to believe what they want? I mean, yeah, to an extent, they can, but when your beliefs are actively causing issues and harming other people, I mean, we've started to move past the point of just accepting that these are individual people's beliefs, and these are now problems that need to be dealt with. And usually you can deal with this stuff via education. So we're going to take a look and see a story that's been up for a while on Reddit that goes over some of this. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a look at the fan art section. This one is from Unseamed Doom Prophet. They said, attempting a Soul Eater style initial sketch. They'd lost their eraser and had to borrow their kid's crappy one. Aw. Well, I mean, not bad though. Even though you had to steal an eraser to make it happen, I'm not going to judge the morals of that particular decision. The next one is from Brother of Darkness. Here's a beautiful piece of art depicting a call for an uprising getting destroyed by Suris. I mean, when all a call for an uprisings look like nails, you might as well bring a hammer, right? Remember, don't be a liar like a call for an uprising. Quiet, honey. That's very southern. That's very southern. But as always, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and move past the preamble into this story. Now, this comes to us from QAnon Casualties, and this user specifically actually has other posts as well that you can look through, so you can see, like, a lot of the decisions that led them here. But we're going to look at the finale, the post that showed where it all went wrong. You're Southern. Lazy, I grew up in Florida, so I guess, I mean, like, adopted Southern? Anyways, let's go ahead and read. It reads, my career of treating patients has ended. There's a heavy content warning. After more than 3 decades as a physician, the Q-maniacs have succeeded in driving me out of providing care to patients. I, like many of my colleagues, am moving into medically adjacent work, where we can continue to apply our training and decades of knowledge without ever having to come in contact with sick people. I've been able to deal with the years of patients who attended Google Medical School and the hours wasted explaining things such as why cinnamon cannot be used to treat diabetes, or that garlic and beetroot can't treat HIV, and Lord save me from essential oils. This is like half of what Genetically Modified Skeptic has to cover on his channel, or at least used to. Continuing on. COVID and Q finally proved to be the one of amateur experts that was too much for me. The horrific deaths are beyond what you might imagine. They emerge almost unrecognizable to their families. Since June, I have never seen a horrible case of someone who was vaccinated. I have seen people struggling to breathe through lungs that have hardened to near uselessness, begging us in their ignorance to give them the vaccine now. We can tell, almost without fail, which ones will die when they come through the door of the ICU. But we do everything in our power to keep them alive. We use ventilators and other machinery, and knowing that we are stretching out the inevitable, we use paralytics with the ECMO and ventilators, and then ease them off to see if they can function. And as the drugs wane, the look of terror emerges. The tears. We try to calm them, to swallow our desire to scream at them, that this is their fault. It didn't have to happen. Often, their spouse or their uncle or neighbor is nearby, dying along with them. And we work hard for those rare cases where we can pull them back from the edge. Liska D. Babbitt, thank you for redeeming your points for an ara. Though maybe, in fact, maybe the monstrous part is the timing here. I'm kidding. We're going to continue. They said that they could deal with all of that. What they can no longer deal with is the screaming. Not from patients, but from the families. They're not screaming in anguish or in recognition of how their foolishness has led them to this point. No, they're screaming at me. Because you see, I am part of the global conspiracy to commit genocide. If only I would have given 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C, even though the body can only absorb a maximum of 100 milligrams a day, with the rest creating the world's most expensive urine, they would be saved. Or hydroxychloroquine, or ivermectin. Those things that have never been studied, they assure me. And when I tell them that they have been, they snap that they don't know what I'm talking about. Oh God, I want to tell them that if we are the ones responsible for killing their loved ones, then why the hell have they brought them to the hospital? Why throw them into our clutches? I know the answer. They know it's all lies, but their egos are so huge that they can't bring themselves to admit it. Day, not day or da. Liska Day Babbitt? I don't know. That's not phonetic. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm so sorry. It goes on to say, my breaking point came in 3 weeks ago. I dealt with a particularly horrible case. This was a husband and a father, 38 years old, a wife, 2 daughters, 1 son, all of age to get vaccinated, none vaccinated. If you could have seen his face and the ravages left by both COVID and the time he spent prone on his stomach, an enormous clot kept reforming in his leg, and we had been forced to amputate his foot in hopes of keeping him alive. When he was awake, the look of terror in his eyes, the crying, the pain. It was nothing new, but the begging over and over, don't let me die, and give me the vaccine. All I could tell him is, we won't let you. Although I never said we might not have any choice in the matter, and I told him repeatedly it was too late for the vaccine. He begged me to bring in his family. A nurse called them, because they had never come to the hospital. They refused to wear masks, and so would not be admitted. The nurse told the wife that her husband was likely dying, and was begging to see them. All she cared about was masks. She would only come if she and her daughters didn't have to wear any. What the fuck? Okay, seriously. No, seriously. If you are the type of person who, when told, hey, please just put on a mask, that's all we're asking you to do, and you can come see your loved one, and you're just like, nope, I won't see him. If I have to put on a mask, I'm not going to do it. Seriously? Holy fucking shit. How up your own ass do you need to be? You need a mask so that you won't breathe in the toxic fumes of your own anal cavity as you shit every single chance you have of being a redeemable person. Holy fucking hell. The nurse came to me and told me the wife wanted to speak to me. I got on the phone and she ordered me to cure him with ivermectin and vitamin C and D. I explained to her that those don't work. They've been extensively studied, and the amount of ivermectin needed to treat even mild COVID would kill a human being. Once again, I was told I was ignorant. I asked her to come down to the hospital, to bring her children, to at least wait outside, and somehow she agreed. The nurses were all busy, and I took over the role they usually perform, comforting the dying. I sat beside the man's bed. Through tears, he rasped out sounds I could vaguely understand as a question. I guessed at what he was asking, and assured him that yes, his family was coming. He was so frightened, I could tell that he knew that death was unavoidable. I'm not religious, but I know he was. And I talked about the comfort of Jesus as I held his hand. About a minute later, he coded. We tried to save him, but there was nothing to be done. 20 minutes later, I heard from a nurse that the family was there, that they had made a ruckus down in the lobby demanding to be let upstairs without masks, and had been thrown out of the hospital. I consulted with a few colleagues who agreed to cover me so that I could speak to them in the parking lot. I took the elevator down and asked security to point me to the family that refused to wear masks. Fortunately, they hadn't left. I stepped outside and went to the wife and identified myself. I told her I was sorry and that we'd done everything that we could. But her husband had passed just a few minutes earlier. I didn't manage to get the words of the sentence fully out of my mouth when I felt the first strike to my face and heard the screamed words, "You murderer." I fell backwards. I tripped. I plopped onto the pavement, the back of my head striking asphalt. I vaguely heard the words being screamed about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and God knows what else. I heard you could save him if you listened. I tasted blood from the top of my lip. I took a moment to know it was seeping from my nose, which she had broken. My mask was getting wet, and thus useless. Security grabbed her. They were getting ready to call the police, but I knew if they did, I would become the next national target for Q-maniacs. I told them to just put her in her car. I wasn't going to press charges. I went back to the hospital, and I started looking for a new job the next day. I will never treat a patient again. Thank God. So, when you go through this story, when you go through this information, and you hear nothing more than the same shit that has been peddled for the last year and a half about COVID, masks this, masks that, give me my horse paste, inject it right into my nose. When you hear all of this shit, but you look at a story like this and every single fucking red flag of conspiratorial numbnuts comes up, and you remember that these are your neighbors. If you've been to a hospital, you've seen people getting angry about masks. If you've walked around outside for any amount of time, especially in the American South, you've heard people talking about different panaceas and cure-alls to stop COVID for the people who even believe the damn thing exists. What does it make you think? I mean, it's just their beliefs, right? They can't hurt anybody until they do. When I get that random ass comment in the comment section, which I always do, of somebody saying it's just their belief, why are you saying anything about it? Why does it matter? Freedom of speech. Let people say what they want. Let people have their opinions. And yeah, I do let people say what they want, but when what they say is bullshit and harmful, I have to talk out about it, because otherwise more situations like this happen. Neko Freakia, thank you for the follow. I said, once when I was 7 years old, I sat on a banana, and of course, that changed my life. Ah, yes. The prostate was tickled at the ripe old age of 7. Your freedom always continues up until the point where it hits me, my loved ones, or those I care about. Planet of the MB Fools, thank you for redeeming your points for an Awal. I would say that a story like this is certainly an example of when that freedom has extended past its point. Because it's not just, oh no, this family got their comeuppance, if that's what you even want to call it. It's not just that. It's not just that a person died who could have been saved earlier on had they only just taken a vaccine that would have given their body the information it needed to fight all this shit. It's not just that happened. Think about it. These people have friends that they talk to on a daily, or at least bi-daily basis, spreading this information to them. When confronted with the cold, hard truth of their own actions, all they can scream is that the doctors were murderers when they were doing everything in their power to save their loved one. They're going to spread that information, and then that's going to get spread to more people, and it's going to cause more people to continue to doubt the efficacy of medical professionals. And the virus of that ignorance, it doesn't just stop at that. There's real, actual viruses that spread from them too. Think about it. Their loved one had COVID. What do you think these people would do afterwards? They don't want to wear masks. They don't want to do anything that could prevent them from spreading things to more people. What are they going to do? They're going to go out into the world and they're going to spread it more. Because to them, it's not a big deal. COVID was never the issue to them. The issue was that ivermectin could have saved them, or hydroxychloroquine could have saved them. And they're going to die on that hill, figuratively and in some cases, literally. Kira Soccer says, I will point out that it's not unheard of for people to violently react to doctors after a loved one blames a doctor for the death. When it was really something else. Understandable. The fact of the matter is, I can't give that benefit of the doubt in situations like this. Because the people in the story, at the very least, already showed a proclivity for causing issues to medical professionals to begin with. They'll go onto social media, they'll scream about this incident, they'll amplify the problem, and the worst part is, the only defense that the medical professional in this particular case had couldn't even be utilized because they knew that they would become a target if they did. And that's kind of an issue. Because it's never just one person. It's never just one belief. It never just stops at that. It extends to their kids and their kids' friends. It extends to their grandparents who are, in this situation, sometimes might be croaking their last in a hospital because of them. It always goes further than the individuals, as much as we would like to pretend that it doesn't. Just call the police anyway? No. You can't do that. If the person does not want to press charges and they can get the person, the problematic person out safely, it is safer in the long run for that person to just walk away from the situation. And that's what they wanted to happen in the first place. You can't just call the police anyway. No. Not everything is cut and dry. You can't just go, oh, well, the legal system will take care of it. It'll be fine. There's social ramifications to shit like this. You could win a case in a situation like this very easily, but the fallout from it could destroy your family. Out in the real world, things are not cut dry and simple, though we'd like to pretend they are. But I do want to then throw it back to you guys. Aren't the QAnon folk known for targeting and doxing people? Yep. So they need to be made an example of? Do they need to be made an example of? I feel like this is enough of an example. What does making an example of them do here? Outside of cause issues for a medical professional that already doesn't want to deal with this shit anymore. What happens there? What is gained? This is like when you have somebody who's violent to you in a classroom. Sometimes it's not just as easy as, oh, go tell the teacher, make an example of them, it'll be fine. Sometimes there are ramifications that happen as a result of that. Going to the authorities is not a bad idea in many cases. In a case like this, though, they already noted they felt like it would be a bad idea, and you kind of have to respect that, because they're not wrong. I say this as somebody that has a fucking Kiwi Farms article on him. You sometimes have to be careful. Doxers are a thing. But let me know what you guys think. Comment section below if you happen to be on YouTube, and the chat's already there if you happen to be on either Twitch or my website. If you want to support the channel and what I do, you got plenty of ways to do so. As always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.